Welcome to Smut and Sensibility,
a podcast for romance readers and romance writers.
By romance readers and writers.
We are Amber,
Allie,
and Marie,
a group of learned ladies who love talking about the romance genre.
In this podcast, we will talk about our favorite books, writing craft, and how we make room for a creative life in real time.
So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome back to Smut and Sensibility, everybody. We are a podcast for romance readers and writers by romance readers and writers. As a reminder, I'm Amber. I'm a corporate attorney by day and a romance reader and writer by night.
And I'm Allie. I am a doctor, writer, and part-time student studying history at Oxford. And I also recently started knitting. So, that's also part of my identity.
Because she wasn't busy enough. She decided to hyperfixate on something new that takes up time. But as far as a new hobby, so mindful, you can, once you get proficient enough, you can do other things while you're, knitting and crocheting.
I have two good friends that are in the IRL book club. Shout out to Corinne and Quinn.
Shout out.
Ooh, ooh. And they're knitters, and they were the people that pushed me. They're like, you really want to do this? And I was like, I do want to do this because I love sweaters. They're my favorite clothing item. And I've tried so many times to write on planes. I cannot. I'm too anxious of a flyer. So
Same.
I'm like,
I just can't get into it in the tiny seat with my laptop. And I need to escape. I need to.
Yeah. I need to just chill and be calm, and I cannot focus on writing. So every time that I get on the plane, I'm like, oh, I have 7 hours to work on my draft. And I do not ever do it. I needed something to do on the plane that wasn't just sweating and freaking out. So that's how this started.
I love that. I don't love the circumstance, but we can't change that. But I do love that you're like, we're just going to call a spade and we're going to improve it and stop having unrealistic expectations that make me feel like shit when I do not complete them.
And I gotta say, a little handicraft and an audiobook. Oh my God. I cannot think of anything better.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Although
I'm like, wow,
I'm in a
mug of tea. I'm peak. I'm just I've peaked. There's nothing else that I could ever want.
If I saw you on a plane with your headphones and your knitting and your snacks and your tea and I didn't know you, I would be like, I want to be her friend. Why is my seat not next to hers?
I know. I feel we would definitely find each other in the plane line in the plane bathroom,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Sharing our stuff.
Absolutely.
But on to today's minisode.
On to today's episode. So today's minisode, we're pretty excited to talk about. And we are going to be talking about first lines today. And I think
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good. If you hang out until the end, I will be sharing some of my first lines from my whip graveyard. You're welcome. From 6 years ago.
The angsty times.
Yeah, everybody starts somewhere. But I think that first lines and subsequently first pages, first chapters, I think a lot about those now versus when I was just sort of starting this hobby and this creative pursuit. And I think that it's a really interesting craft topic because I think it sort of encompasses a lot of the things that you're trying to do throughout the whole book, but just right away and with a sense of urgency.
High stakes, right? Are they going to turn to the next page or are they going to put it down, whether it's a reader or an agent or,
Yeah. And it really is your first impression of a book as a reader. And I think as a writer, it's really important to think about that reader. And, you want something that has a hook that sort of is in line with the tone of your story. You want to put your character and the reader in the center of action. And I think that you also want to leave a little bit of curiosity that makes people want to keep reading and turn the page, whether that's introducing a question or putting someone in a weird situation, kind of how you structure that, because that's how people are going to pick up and keep going. And I know for me and my neurodivergence and kind of shorter attention span, the first page, first chapter is really important for me as a reader. And so as I've learned more and more about craft and about writing, and as I have continued to read hundreds of books, I think that I pay a lot more attention to that now than I did 6-7 years ago when I was just sort of like reading for fun and like it was just like in one ear out the other, and I'm thinking more about the craft and like, oh, I was immediately sucked in. Why is that? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And first lines, some people we think did really well with their first lines, and just kind of some general craft around said lines.
So, only a few things to really encompass in first lines in your first page. So nothing big at all to worry about.
It's a small task. It's
a
just
small
one
task,
sentence.
not anxiety inducing. But a few things to keep in mind, at least as we were kind of researching and pulling together resources for this episode, is kind of so many resources talk about the in media res, which is Latin for in the middle of things. And it's often really shared because I think how default humans think and the linear brain, right? I got up in the morning, I had breakfast. Like, you want to start from the beginning. And sometimes it's very mundane. Like, that isn't necessarily where the story should begin. So getting away from that, you want to start in the middle of it. So, if the king dies and someone is taking over the throne, maybe start right there. Not that there's things that aren't important beforehand, but that might not need to be where your story starts. It might really be here moving forward. And it sounds simple, but sometimes when you sit down at that blank page, the intuition default, right? Just whether we've been taught in academics, right? You're starting from the beginning, you need to tell everything. You kind of want to start in the middle of things is usually a better way to attention grab. And then a few things to avoid. And again, caveat, that does not mean there hasn't been examples of these things and how books have started. But I think those are the exception, not the rule. And we're saying these to avoid because many resources say that readers hate them sometimes. Also, agents or publishers do. So it might just be an automatic no if they start reading you in the slush pile. So it depends on your goal too, right? So with everything, just take this with a grain of salt. But first, dream sequence. So many people think it'd be fun to start with a dream sequence, but many times just people do not like the dream sequence, right? It's you invest time in something that's not real. And from the very beginning, it's like, well, why did I waste this effort when it's not even reality, right? Like, we're investing and then it doesn't come to fruition. Second thing is a gratuitous hook. Hooking someone to just get them right away and then it doesn't follow through, right?
Like there's like an intro blue ball, essentially.
Yes, an intro blue ball. Don't do that because you're going to lose the trust. And then that's setting the tone. So either if a reader does like it, and then a couple of pages later, that's not the tone of the book, they're not going to like it. Or if that hook was incorrect and someone may like your book, they may put it down because they didn't like the hook. It wasn't true to your story. So yeah, I think those are two of the big ones, Allie, don't you think? That just kept coming up over and over again that were like pretty standard. If you're just starting out, there are so many other ways to start your book. It'd be better to just avoid those two.
Yeah. And I think, we're really trying to like break down, sort of the granularity of the first line. And it feels super daunting because you're like, oh my God, like I've already had to try to distill my story down into, a query letter, whether that's like to, query agents for TradPub or, that is ultimately the blurb on the back of your book. If you, refer whatever you do. So if you go the indie route, that is still something that you need to produce. The question is, this is a lot of pressure. You just made me put it in 250 words. And like, now you're telling me that I have to put it in one sentence. And yeah, that is hard, but I think it's a lot easier to look at it when you're done and say like, does my first line meet the expectation, the tone, the voice of the story? Because I think you brought up in, earlier that it can change, and it probably will, from the first draft to like the fifth or however many it takes you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you are already freaking out, please don't, because this is going to come later, right? If you are a severe plotter, you may know exactly how your book's going to turn out. But even then, there may be some nuances that once you get to the end, you'll realize it'll be much easier to figure out where your story is supposed to start. Or not that it's terrible, but it would be better in a certain place. So don't let the first page or the first line make you into a paralysis where you don't continue. This is going to be later for editing, but it's still really good to know and have in the back of your mind when you're writing. And then just for when we do get to editing that piece, how important that first sentence and the first page really is. So you feel prepared when you come back to it to be like, oh God, where did I start? Where are we starting from? And how do we change it if it needs to be changed?
Yeah, there's a strong chance that you may not have started in the right place, meaning you started too early and there's not enough action or plot to like get you, through that first phase. It sags a little in the beginning. I will say I've read some really great books with prologues, and plenty of them exist. But I think when we're talking about first lines, I think this also is sort of tangential, but generally people don't love a prologue. You can kind of like skirt around it if you decide to make it chapter 1 and like maybe it's a flashback if you're establishing a connection between two characters, and you can say 14 years ago, and it's technically chapter 1, but chapter 2 is technically present day, and then perhaps there's like back and forth. But I think in general it's sometimes hard to start your reader in the past and then bring them forward, because what is really that exciting about that? It's hard to tell. And I think it when you see it, as far as a good prologue. But I think it's hard to do, and I think it's like overdone because it's like sort of a writer's crutch. It's like I got to sort of like stretch my legs and like warm up a little bit before then I plop you into chapter 1.
I think too, the prologue has a tendency to tell more than show, right? That's why you need the prologue. And again, I think it depends on what genre you're in. Like Allie just mentioned, we are seeing a resurgence of prologues sometimes in the romance genre.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. I haven't looked to see how many are established authors already that have their proven sales and they're allowed to do a prologue for the specific story. So I think it's just, again, with a grain of salt. But as starting out, if you kind of want to avoid maybe a pitfall, you can still get all that information that you wanted in the prologue in a different way throughout the book. It's not like it can't be in there, just not in a prologue version of a more telling than showing.
Yeah, there's an exception to every rule. There's an exception to everything that we're saying and a caveat. But yeah, I think in general, if you are if you are querying for the first time, if you are going to be a debut author and you're wanting to go the trad pub route, in general, the two things to avoid would be prologue, and then as Amber had mentioned earlier, a dream sequence opening or a reference to a dream at the opening. I feel like those are the two big things that I consistently hear from agents, editors, like anytime they're doing like a blog post, a Q&A, whatever, it's like I feel like those are the two flashing ones that we always hear about.
Yeah. Exactly. So should I dive into some first lines? Allie, what do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to hop into some first lines. These were simply books that were on our shelves in our recent digital history, opening them and going to the first line. Allie may or may not have read these books, so this may be her first initial response to it as well. So we'll kind of hop into it here. Okay, so the first one is coming from A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir. Are you ready for the first line, Allie?
I'm so ready.
How did they find us so fast?
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Action, right? A question.
Action, a question. There's a sense of danger. Who's out to get you? You're with another person, so you already are sort of like in shadow. Maybe the other protagonist or a person that's important to the hero or heroine, whoever the POV is. But that's a very good first line.
I thought so too, and short and simple. I'm surprised. I have different lengths of examples, but a lot of them that ended up right away, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I was surprised they weren't as long as I thought they'd be, because you think that first line's got to pack a lot of punch, and you always think more words or as long as it can be, but sometimes just short and simple but impactful can kind of come up and get you. So I thought the same. I was like, what's going on? I immediately want to read the next sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is from Shadow and Bone by Lee Bordeaux. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Standing on the edge of a crowded road, I looked down onto the rolling fields and abandoned farms of the Tula Valley and got my first glimpse of the shadow fold.
Ooh, that's very setting focused.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm getting I think it does a good job with world building. We have a person on a hill looking down. Yeah, I'm being plucked into a setting.
Yeah, and I thought that too, because a little difference with romantasy, sometimes we have to explain more setting to pull us in, but I like how it ended the shadow fold. It's clear.
Yes.
I don't know what that is. It's kind of what's in the box. I want to know what's next.
Yes.
And it's just by the name, it seems dooming, dangerous, alluring. It's both.
Yes.
So I thought that one was a pretty fun one too, but a little different.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're switching gears. This is from the Rom-Commers by
that's a good one.
Catherine Center. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Logan Scott called just as I was making dinner, and I almost didn't answer because my dad and I were singing along to ABBA's greatest hits.
Delightful.
Right?
Yeah.
I liked that it mentioned the ABBA's greatest hits and she's singing with her dad. I thought that was really fun. It also set the tone that there's going to be probably some humor in here, some upbeat stuff. And also, I don't know who Logan Scott is, but it's like a first and a last name. Like,
and it sounds like they're important, and this person is going to be, affecting the story from here on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had read that one.
I have read that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's a good first line. I think it does a good job. Like I'm in the moment. I feel like I'm picturing sort of like midnight margaritas. Like we're singing and we're making dinner and like we're dancing in the kitchen, like with my dad. Like that's kind of like the vibe
immediately
that
someplace I want to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
The first line. Like I don't know what else is going to happen, but I want to be there.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, the next one is Church Girl by Naima Simone. This isn't what it looks like. Just like intrigue. Like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like
what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Who are you talking to?
It's like that. Jennifer Lawrence on Hot Wings. Have you ever seen that clip? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? That's what I get in the best way for this one.
Yeah. And I think having read that book, I think that the other thing that is really, really good, which is why this is sort of a masterful first line, is that a lot of the character arc, particularly for the heroine, is, she is not who she seems. She is not who other people want her to be. There's a big self-discovery arc outside of, a controlling, hyper-religious situation. And so I think that's a really, like, having read the book, I'm like, ooh, Naima Simone. She did.
I know, and almost like undertone.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about a theme, which is like
you're getting a theme preview.
Which is crazy, and you wouldn't know it until the end. So she's fucking brilliant. Brilliant. I just can't
brilliant.
Even.
10 out of 10. Naima
sets
amazing.
The bar so high.
I know.
Okay, next one. We just talked about this 4 Weekends and a Funeral with Miss Ellie Palmer. Are you ready for this one?
Yes.
When I learn I'm still dating Sam Lewis, I'm at his funeral.
I mean,
immediately
what
I'm
do
like,
you mean?
Again, another one with Jennifer Lawrence. What do you mean? Immediately, I'm like, this is so unbelievable, but clearly is happening. I need to know all the details. Like my mind immediately wants to believe it, but I want to fill in the blanks of like, tell me more. I grab the popcorn. I'm ready to go.
Ellie does such a good job with first lines that are like, and it sets sort of like kind of the funny, rom-com-y, a little bit quirky. Again, a lot of these are setting the tone and like the voice, right? And very good first line.
Next one is another romantasy, Lore of the Wilds by Annalise Sabrana. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Lore Amalu collected stories like the raven that lived above the apothecary, hoarded shiny pebbles.
Ooh, very good imagery.
Yeah, I thought the imagery was great. And then the comparison of like she's collecting stories and then also the apothecary. Like I just have so many like knickknacks in my mind. I want to know like what is the apothecary? Where is it?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What type of stories? Like, we're introducing like a couple of different curious elements here. Like, how does this apothecary, play a role? And then also connecting it to like a raven. And that is typically, darker themes in literature. And it also doing a good job of like subtle world building, like from the first line too.
And not overwhelming you, right? Like that's
Not
always, I feel like the challenge is like you want to make it colorful and vivid and to suck you in, but not to be overwhelming and like inundated where you lose them.
Yeah.
So it sounds simple, but it's always like kind of a hard balance. So I felt like that she did a very good job. The next one is Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks.
Okay.
5 body bags, adult sized.
That's so good.
That's it. 5 body bags, adult size.
That's so good.
And this is a really good one. I don't know if I've told you this one before, but so she moves next door. I forget she's in Ireland, but the neighbor is like a mortuary. So like that's kind of like, the theme, but such a good first line.
I want to read that right now. Like, what is happening?
What is happening? It's so good.
What is happening? Which is the question that your reader should be asking with the follow-up of, I must know. Like, what is happening? I need to find out,
Yes. Okay, I think I have one more. I have Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I never imagined that my death would come by way of a sheep avalanche, but as I watched the tumbling mass of floof barreling down the hill toward the stretch of road I am currently stalled on, it occurs to me that it would be at least a memorable way to go.
That's funny.
It's funny. So you know there's going to be humor in the book. It was a little longer, so I wanted to get some variety, but I feel like even though that was a really long sentence, it still kept my interest.
Yeah. And knowing that author, I think that we're also getting like a voice set up as well, you know?
Yeah.
Because I consider, and this, you can fight me in the comments about this, but I consider voice and tone similar, but not exactly the same thing. What about you, Amber?
Agree. I think, especially like thinking of it right away with characters, like your characters can have a different inclination for their own voices, but in their own voice, they can each carry a different tone and even the story itself can. So it's nuanced and they can be similar, but I agree with you. So I guess you come at both of us.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah. I feel like voice is more certainly character voice, but I think like each writer has their own voice of how they're going to tell you this story. But tone is sort of like woven into voice a lot of the time. You know, it could like tone is more like it's a dark comedy. It's not quite genre, but it's like a vibe. And again, I really hate to be using super vagaries like tone and vibe, but that's where we're at.
This is where we're at today.
Sorry.
So yeah, so we thought that would be fun just to share some first lines as we're talking and breaking it down. And then we did want to reference, we found an amazing article on Substack by Abigail Fenton. And she's a literary agent and she was a former Big Five editor. And she has over a decade's experience at HarperCollins and Hachette. So for whatever, if you like that resume, you don't. But this is found on her Substack, How to Write and Edit a Book. And then this article in particular is titled, I Would Stop Reading Your Book on Page 1. So as we were doing research for this, I immediately was like, oh my God, this is like perfect for this episode.
Yes.
So she breaks down just into 5 little nuggets of why she has in the past like would stop reading your novel as a professional in the publishing industry. The first one is talking about making sure every single word counts, no filler, no unnecessary description. So kind of what we were talking to earlier. Long sentences can still work, but maybe less is more. Like what are you trying to do? How are you trying to portray that? Are you trying to grab attention? So especially when that real estate is so precious on that first line in that first page, because it's really the make or break it to get them to the second page. Just really be judicious in the words you're choosing. Number 2, tell the story as soon as possible. This goes back to starting in the middle. Tell us what the plot is, what's going on, the main character. You don't want to wait until 3, 4, 5 chapters in because they may not get there, right? This is the all stakes situation. So thinking about what your story is about, and maybe if you think something shouldn't be told until later, maybe that's the perfect place to start to really get us invested and ready to go. Speaking of vague, Allie, capture your tone of the novel. If your novel is funny, add some humor or quirkiness to the first line, because then again, it sets that tone that the reader is either going to really enjoy it or not. But it's not in a bad way, but it's to know who should be reading it. Same, if it's really emotional, maybe you start it out that way. If it's a murder mystery, capture that intrigue right away. There's 5 body bags or whatever it is.
Adult size.
Adult size, you know? So just really thinking about what that tone is supposed to be. And then her number 4 is don't confuse us. So you just want to make sure what you're telling and why. If you're overhearing a conversation, does it really need to happen right now? Maybe you need to think about where you need to start, but you should know what's happening and why. And then the last one, which I think is just really great, lay your bait, pose that question, somehow lead into a promise that's to come. You want to build that momentum from the very beginning to see what they want or they need to keep us as the reader invested to keep going. And then she just kind of finishes her own thoughts on the article. So we'll link it in the description. But those were just like the big 5 key takeaways that we wanted to share. And it's just always nice to see behind the curtain of other industry professionals for people who aren't behind the curtain or haven't been themselves a part of it before and are trying to get their foot in the door.
Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed with all of the publishing and writing content that I subscribe to on Substack, but I will say that Substack is such a great resource, oftentimes free for writers and aspiring authors, and you can learn a lot from the information that people are putting out there. There's really great like industry analysis, not just from like editors and agents, but also marketing experts. I think we talked about Kathleen Schmidt. She's like one of my with Publishing Confidence, she's like absolutely one of my subscribes because she's fantastic. So I think there's just a lot that you can learn as a rando without, necessarily subscribing to things that are costing you money just yet. But, to be clear, Substack is obviously, it's social media, but it's a little bit different. I think there's a lot more like
long form articles.
Yeah. And like, I think there's more of like a learning element. That's kind of how I feel about YouTube as well. At least like I use YouTube for entertainment, but I think a lot of us use it as an educational tool as well. And I think Substack is kind of similar in that, yes, it is entertainment and social media, but there's also like an underpinning of like education, I think, at least in the spaces that I am in with it as well.
We'd be interested to see what you, the listener, have to think about that. If those of you are on Substack, I would agree. I also think there's been an influx of publishing professionals moving to Substack for many reasons of just social media platforms changing, trying to have like an email list that doesn't cost you so much. But I have found it, I'm trying to like reframe my processes instead of going to like Google or different search engines just to start, to go to Substack, because if I know I'm looking in the literary area, I know that there are a lot of literary professionals or other writers on there. And then it's really nice that typically it's linked right to their profile like this. Like I didn't have to be like, who is this author? Because I want to know who's writing the article, where it comes from. I don't want to be finding just some AI stuff on Google. I also want to know, is this person have the credentials that I want to even be like listening to them? So I really love that about Substack, that it just seems to, as of today is a recording date, who knows the future of it. It is kind of a newer, untapped resource that we're both finding very, very useful. And it's a lot of fun finding all these people and connecting and subscribing to just see all the knowledge to be shared.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely AI slop on Substack, and there's
everywhere.
Definitely everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. There's definitely controversies and problems and stuff in general. I think that it is an easy way to have a platform as an expert of some kind.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good information to be had. Obviously, use discretion with all things these days, but
So should we hop into our current works in progress first lines and do a little workshop?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, sweating. Here we go.
I'm like a little bit nervous.
I know, me too. Do you want me to go first? Or do you have, I can go first? Do you want to we don't want to do more paper, scissors, rock, do we?
Oh my God. Paper, scissors, rock. This is a Smut and Sensibility exclusive.
Only here can you get audible paper, scissors, rock on your drive to your work commute on a Monday morning.
It is what we're just giving the listeners what they long for. Everybody's always wanted just an audio version of rock, paper, scissors. So
what was I saying? Paper, scissors, rock? Rock,
That's
paper,
what you were
scissors.
saying. I don't know. I didn't know.
I need more coffee today. Where am I?
I don't know.
Rock, paper, scissors. My goodness. Okay, we're doing it. Rock, paper, scissors. Okay, we're just going to do one. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Rock, paper, scissors. We both did scissors.
We both did scissors again. We always are.
Okay, we're going to do it one more time. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors. And we both did rock.
We did rock.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors. No. Allie, this is ridiculous.
We just copied each other's sequence
3 times.
3 times. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Rock,
paper,
scissors. Finally, you won.
I won. My scissors cut Amber's paper. Leave us a 5-star review if you really enjoy.
As I cough from my walking pneumonia.
Leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy listening to people do rock, paper, scissors and have to do it multiple times because we keep picking the same things. So,
all right, give it to me, girl. Give it to me.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Let me pull. It's been a long time since I looked at this.
That's sweet.
Whip. Okay.
Your scrivener like starts smoking. You haven't opened it.
I know, honestly. Well, okay. So small side story. When I was in class last week, with Sam and Tam, I had not looked at this whip in a long time, and just with everything that's going on. And Sam was like, okay, yeah, your goal this week is reacquaint yourself with your story. Like, da da da. I was like, yeah, super, super good. On it.
Great
So
idea. Great idea.
I'm in class and I'm like looking for my draft. And I can't find it. I can only find a draft from like last summer, which was the short story like for one of our Smutties. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Immediate
what? I was sweating.
panic.
And Sam was like, you okay? And I was like,
No.
I can't really find my draft. And she's like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's here probably, but I need to find it. So I did ultimately end up finding it. It was in the wrong folder. Like the backup
Rude.
was in the wrong folder. So I did have to
rude.
like crack open a backup, but I have it now.
Thank God.
So yeah.
So she, you know right where she is for today.
Yes. So I do know where she is because, yeah. Okay. I'm nervous.
You got this. You're in a safe space. The book
Okay.
besties will take good care of us.
Okay. Karina's career in espionage began with a butt dial, so it was only fitting, she supposed, that it would come to its end because of an Instagram post featuring a well-dressed wiener.
Dun dun.
There you go.
I like it. I think it does a really good job of setting the tone and the hilarity, right? Like we know what's coming. So I love that about it. And it's just so
It's
like
maybe
attention
a little
grab.
long.
And maybe a little long. Like there could be some trimming, but again, I think that's
Yeah.
your problem tomorrow.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
it
like a
starts with
tomorrow
the butt
problem.
dial. It's fun. And then the reference to the Instagram post is kind of fun too. But you need both.
Yeah. Yeah. I have she supposed in there. I could probably get rid of that.
Yeah.
I think it sets the tone for
Uh-huh.
sort of this madcap spy. It's obviously going to be funny and not probably, espionage accurate, maybe a little,
Yeah.
but
Or not like American Sniper, right? Like that's not
No.
it's not a thriller, just a
this isn't going to
traditional
be
thriller.
like, this isn't going to be like Homeland, like it's not like that. But yeah, so that's the first line as it is right now. And, who knows, it might change because
It probably will.
my story has definitely changed since I started writing it. And it will likely continue to change because I was actually just thinking this morning when I was making my tea, I was like, I should actually probably change this and have this be a different thing. So I'm like, okay, changes keep happening.
Just normal tea making thoughts like, oh, I should change this whole chunk of my book. No
Yeah.
big deal.
Okay. Hit me with your first line.
Okay. Are you ready? Violet's hands were shaking as she packed up her desk.
Ooh. That puts us right in the action. Something's
Right?
going on. We've got
Yeah.
emotion. We've got
Okay.
action. Something
Something
has
happened, right?
We want to know
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so vulnerable, you guys.
It
We're
is.
reading our own works out loud to you. We only do this in our writing class.
I know.
Yeah, so honestly, I thought both of ours, I didn't remember what either of ours were when we were preparing for this
It's
episode.
been a really long time.
So I
since
was
I've
prepared for us
wrote
both
that.
to be like, oh, this is embarrassing, and that's fine. But I think they're pretty good. Like, they're both probably going to be changed for sure, just because, again, even just with trimming and making sure each word is judicious. But it's a really good start. That was so fun.
Yeah. So that's what we got going on. Speaking of embarrassment,
Bloopers.
if you've made it this far, congratulations. Your special treat
Yes.
is that we are going to go back into Allie's archive of first draft graveyards. All of these stories are differing levels of complete, clearly differing levels of good, most of them not, but they were all really fun, like plot idea bunnies. And so, we wrote about it. And the only way that you get better at things is if you keep doing it.
Practice and
So,
trying. Yeah.
Looking back actually at these old works in progress, I am like, you know what, girl, you are doing
You were doing
good.
it.
Rereading my current whip, I'm like, there's some good stuff in here. And even back then, that's like not bad. What I really am noticing the difference in like my skill level right now is that my like plotting and pacing is way better. I think that I really dragged stuff out before, or like I would have sort of a premise and then I would sort of be lingering on that premise and kind of
The like fan fiction. Like we're
like
just
things
living in the emotion in that part.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go anywhere because we weren't following the plot or the structure
Correct.
of what we should have been doing.
You know, or what I kind of call like, you know, Barbies, where we have the characters and we're like, then we're focusing on plot too much, where we're like, we have the characters and then they're doing this thing and then they're doing this thing and they're doing this thing. But there's really not like a lot of like emotion, but we just like want to write like a fun, like cool scene. So I will say that's like a big difference.
Yeah.
So welcome to the graveyard. Get your flashlights. It's getting spooky.
We're
Okay.
lighting candles. We're doing a seance. We're bringing them back from the
seance.
dead.
Okay. These are the spirits of drafts past. Thank you for your service. Okay.
You will never be forgotten.
I know. Long, yes. And you know what? Most of these will not ever see the light of day again, but at
Or
least
maybe they will. You never know.
But probably not. But it is, they have served their purpose. So the first one is Ben hated parties, semicolon. He avoided them for many reasons.
You know, we giggle.
We giggle, but
You are at least having a hook, right? Like, what are the reasons, right? You are leading us somewhere.
yeah, I think, you know, I probably could have stopped at like Ben hated parties. It doesn't really, in knowing what that story is about, it doesn't really tell you anything about the hero, though. Or it doesn't really set the tone for anything. The first scene obviously takes place at a party.
You don't say.
It's
Okay.
not really telling you anything else.
I like that was a really good, fun, though, live workshop. Ben hated parties by itself. So that's a perfect example. The second section wasn't terrible, but it has more impact of just like Ben hated parties, period.
Yeah.
And then you're being more judicious with your words.
Yeah.
So yay, a little nugget teaching us things.
Okay, for those of you that are following along on YouTube, Amber did have a scene change, a location change, but we are back.
We're back. Quick
Yep.
hopping back in it. Okay, I need more. Give me more.
Oh God. Okay.
Past Allie first liners.
Okay, so the next one is happy fucking birthday, Cam. Here's to having fun before you settle down and become president. Brent laughed over the sound of lively bar patrons mixed with Tom Petty's You Wreck Me in the background.
It is lively. I will say it's lively. And
It is.
paints
It is
a
that.
picture.
It is more, again,
There's a lot.
I think something shorter would have been more impactful.
Yes, I
And
agree.
I will also say that the side note for this is that this is the first line. It's in a prologue, and
It's all the things we don't want to do.
and it's also, I had already, as like an epigraph at the top of the prologue, I had already used a quote from You're So Vain.
This
And then
keeps
I'm
getting
now
better.
talking about another song.
Another song.
Which, if you listened to our Vibes, Mood Boards, and Playlist episode, you do know that is like a song that I do enjoy listening to.
That was really fun. I think that was a good example of like we can jokingly be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, she wouldn't. I don't think people would read on, or at least you wouldn't get picked up the slush pile with that. Maybe first line.
No, it's a sentence. It's not first line worthy. If we're talking about all these,
What a compliment
these-
sandwich. It's there and it's a sentence.
it's a sentence. It is there.
Love it. Okay. Another one.
Okay, and then the next one is, and I will say this is the start of, I'll get to it, but there's a theme during this period of time when I'm writing, and like every single chapter has a music lyric at the top. I don't really know why, but I think I was really leaning into the playlist really hard. I don't really know.
It just felt right for you in that moment in time. And now you can look back and just go, what was I doing?
Yeah, Spotify was like newish to me back then. I had like just gotten Spotify in like 2022, 2021,
You
somewhere in
wanted
there.
to show off your skills,
I know.
your knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the next one is, I don't know how long I have been staring at a cracked tile in the call room shower. Now,
Ooh.
I think that it's interesting slightly in
Mhm.
that I think like we're getting a little bit better than the first two. But the thing that I don't like about this, and I think that the thing that sometimes bothers me, is that the character doesn't know. The character would probably know. So like the question shouldn't come from the character asking essentially a rhetorical question. This is like super nitpicky, but like there should be something else that alerts the character to how long that they've been staring at the cracked shower or whatever in the call room, instead of them just like pondering like, oh, I don't know how long I've been staring at that. Like nobody would actually say that.
Right. Or maybe it would be better if it wasn't like first person dialogue. It could just be like she was staring at the cracked tile in the shower. Like
Yeah.
just like a statement of like she's clearly in a state of paralysis, right? Or
Yeah.
like existential crisis,
Yeah.
but have
And I
that
think
be anyway.
And I think like the scene that this like turns into, in my mind, like now thinking about it, I'm like, this could be way better, because I think you could have like a real moment here for like, did something traumatic happen, to this resident that's in a medical call room, right? Like, where are we? What are we doing? You kind of get some information, and you do have more questions. But I think it would be better because like, this is not really action, right? She's showering, but like, she's not doing any, she's passively doing. She's not really doing anything.
You know what? This is not to like break into it, but I didn't assume she was showering because I didn't know like call room shower, like if she could just be in there hiding and taking a break in a moment. Like I didn't assume she was showering.
Oh yeah. I mean, she was.
She was.
Yeah. So, why? This is again sort of dreamlike, right? Like we're in one state and then something like breaks us out of it. It's not a dream, but it kind of does have that similar kind of vibe. It could be stronger. I think I like where we're trying to go, but this is not it.
Speaking of dreams, what's your next one?
You're so mean to me.
I love you.
The next one is I had the dream again.
Oh, this brings me
boy.
so much joy. I hope you all enjoy us laughing together so that you can feel more relaxed
Yeah. And I will say that one that's actually in chapter 1. That's not in a prologue. So
we're improving.
We're improving in some way.
I really want to know though, did you then go on to describe the dream on the first page? Do you remember?
I did.
The gift that keeps giving. Who knew that this would be quality podcast content years down the road?
Yeah,
so thank you, Past Allie, for these nuggets of golden wisdom that we can learn from.
If you have written some of these lines, if you're like, oh shit, that sounds like just like mine, like we're not laughing at you. We're not making fun of you. This is all a process.
And I to learn from each other.
Yeah, to learn from each other. And everything can always be improved. And I think any author will tell you that if they look back at their first book. And I mean, when Denise was talking to us, she was like her first book that she published, she's like, oh my God, I could make a million changes to that now because of how far she's come. She's, had 11 books or something out since then.
Wild.
Truly wild. But, I think that it's really important to be able to learn in like the inverse. And I had like an attending tell us that one time when we were med students, and it was like, you are not going to just be taught during like the clinical phase of this is what you're supposed to do. You're going to see stuff where you're like, well, I'm not supposed to do that.
That is not what we should do.
That's not how I want to do it. That's not what I would do. That doesn't make sense to me. You're going to learn a lot of things in the inverse of what not to do. And I think that that's sometimes it's actually easier
I agree.
to identify what doesn't work or what's not working than to identify why something does work for you. Because I think a lot of times why something does work for you is based on a lot of times your own personal experience. And I'm a super mood reader. So it's like, how am I feeling that day can definitely play into whether something is hitting or not. So I think sometimes the first thing that you can often identify is like, that was not for me. So that's what we're doing here.
Examples, good and bad, always help teach us.
Good and bad. That's right. Everything is a lesson.
It was such a good transition to when you're talking about dreams. All right.
I know.
I think we have.
And I will say, I wrote that before I learned about the dream thing. I had written this like a couple of months before I attended, I think it was one of the virtual conferences that the Shit No One Tells You About Writing gals put on. And I think it was the first year that they did it. And I think it was like the deep dive conference. So there were like a bunch of online workshops. It was like every week there was something. And we did have one about first lines, and we had like agent Q&As and all that stuff. And so they're such a great resource in general. The content that they put out like for free is incredible.
So that was one of your first when you went there and you were like, ooh, this is great.
Like,
and I did this thing.
I did that.
I did it.
Yeah. And like I said,
But that's amazing. Like that's the whole point of trying to get better and learn things and find new resources so you can avoid pitfalls or improve and sharpen your skills. So
exactly. And there's always going to be someone that is going to be successful breaking the rules. 100%. There always will be. And maybe it's you. But the chances are it's not. And and I'm speaking to myself about this too. Like, I think on some level,
I'm sorry. It's so good. The chances are, but it's not. As she stares dead camera in the eye.
I mean, again, it speaks to the sort of like chosen one with magical abilities. Like we all want to be the one that wakes up and has like magical powers and is like special and different. And I think that our creative work is no different. Like, I want someone to look at this and be like, this does not follow any of my normal rules, but like, yes, I want this. I want her, right?
It's so good that the rules don't even matter.
The rules don't even matter. Okay, the next one, I just have two more. So the next one is, the best thing that ever happened to me was my parents' divorce.
That one.
Not bad.
Not bad. It's decisive and it's intriguing because you think of a parent's divorce, usually it's a negative connotation. The fact that it's like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's like, I want to know more. Like, that's different.
And I think we could be like hinting at a wound or something that we find like what we are perceiving as a strength for survival, but perhaps it is actually a wound. You know, that I think that one has some more potential than the others.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, last one. Lainey should not have eaten all of those crab rangoons last night.
I immediately want to be friends with Lainey. Who doesn't love a good crab ragoon on the couch watching something? Like, I want to be your best friend. So how did it start after this? Are you just describing her like hanging out?
Let me see. I think it's this one.
Again, this would be a good example of that. Like, the story it's probably great, but again, it's maybe starting in the wrong place.
Her next line is an internal monologue line. Basically, she's wondering if you could bottle her sweat to be reused as fryer grease. So she's wondering that.
Is she hungover? Those seem to be hungover, still drunk thoughts in my head.
I think she was the night before.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
It takes place in like a college setting. So it's like she's, you know, a junior or senior in college.
She's regretting all those crab ragoons last night, though.
All those crab rangoons lumbering up the stairs. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like I said, a song lyric starting off every single one of these chapters, like that I had thus far written, and I was like, dear God, like this is. I don't know if it was a moment in time. Were other people doing that back then? I don't remember.
I know some people do. There's been, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there have been books where there's song lyrics that like the name of the chapter or whatever.
Yeah. And I think it can work, but did I do that for every single, like these are
It was
all
now
different
your
projects.
personality. It was like going to be your signature. It was going to be every single one.
I don't know. But all I will say is that this definitely was a quirk at the time. That's for sure. Because every single one, and these are all different projects that are in various states of abandoned.
Poor neglected babies.
Yeah. And yeah, so those are my bloopers. Those are
so fun. Thank you for being vulnerable and like letting us have some fun so we could learn from examples. Because like you said, I think it is really important that you learn good examples and bad examples, because sometimes you don't know what a bad one is until you see it. And not that they're all bad. I didn't mean it to sound that way. I just meant
they are. Like, there's some real stinkers in that list.
I had the dream again is probably
I had the dream again to then go describe the dream. Don't make that mistake, you guys.
Don't do it.
Don't do the dream.
Oh, we hope you found this episode fun and delightful and took some golden nuggets. I know we sure did.
Absolutely check out Abigail Fenton's post on Substack. We will link it down below. There is a wealth of information out there. And as we recommended in, I think, one of our previous episodes, we love the Shit No One Tells You About Writing podcast. And we also love Plot Twist.
Yeah.
They offer a lot of really great insights particularly in traditional publishing, trends, authorship, all of that type of stuff. And it's super helpful. So yeah, I think first lines are super important. They get you hooked. We know that the length from the inciting incident to the end of Act 1 has to be condensed. And we've talked about this in earlier episodes of, everything is getting shorter and shorter. So like when we did our throwback episodes, we talked about like how people aren't on page together for a really long time. It's a little bit of a slower start. Our attention span is getting like shorter and shorter, and people are wanting, like, especially in romance, they're wanting like the characters on page together ASAP. They're wanting them meet cute ASAP. And so I think first lines are always important, but I think that it is following the trend of a much more condensed timeline from like inciting incident, meet cute, especially for romance. Yeah. And it's things to think about. I think some people know their first line right away. And I think with my current work in progress, I think that was the first thing that I knew was that first line. And I think it'll probably stay pretty similar. It needs to be shortened a bit, but I think that it has like the spirit of the story in it. And
I would agree. Yeah.
yeah, it has the spirit of the story. And I think that I have just been thinking a lot more about first lines. And
Same.
sometimes you don't have a first line until you finish the story and you're like, oh, this is what this is actually about.
Yeah. It'll be fun to see what our final lines will be. And you listeners, let us know if you have any fun first lines in your old repertoire as Allie
I
does.
would love to know.
Please
I would
share.
love for you to put down in the comments below
Please do.
a first line from one of your, like from your draft graveyard, your whip graveyard, because let's
These
do
are
it
fun.
together.
Let's
Let's
just
learn
do
from
this.
each other.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Or if you have a first line that like you are obsessed with, let us know too.
Yes.
Obviously our list was not all inclusive. So if there's a book first line that you're like, this got me to read it, or this is my favorite first line, or I like look to this person to be my beacon, my inspiration, let us know, because there's so much to be learned from so many people.
I just want to know all the things and be besties with y'all.
Yes, exactly. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's manuscript minisode of Smut and Sensibility. We are in all of the places. So we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're on YouTube, we are on Amazon Music and iHeart at Smut and Sensibility Podcast. And we are also on Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky. And we do also have a newsletter. And I will be hopefully sending out the new newsletter the next day or two for a feel-good March roundups. If you'd like to be informed about that, go ahead and subscribe down below.
Allie's newsletters are so delightful, you guys. They're so thoughtful, and recipes and shows we're watching and extra books. So it's got good
They're fun.
stuff.
It's a fun time. It's a good positive way to end the month. So Amber, do you want to sign us off?
I would love to. Thank you all for listening. Go in pursuit of your happily ever after. And most importantly, stay smutty. Bye.